I need to tell you about the thing I ate every night for 11 years that I was completely certain was good for me. It was fruit. A bowl of fruit after dinner. Sometimes a banana, sometimes grapes, sometimes both. I've been told my whole life that fruit was healthy, natural sugar, vitamins, fiber, better than dessert, better than anything processed. And every morning I would wake up to a number that wouldn't come down, and I would go through my day trying to figure out what I was doing wrong, and it never once occurred to me to look at the bowl of fruit sitting on my kitchen counter. Not until someone explained what happens to that fruit between 10 at night and 3 in the morning inside a body that's been managing blood sugar for decades. That explanation changed my morning number. Not immediately, within weeks. And the change came not from adding something, but from stopping something I had believed for over a decade was helping me. I'm going to show you exactly what I found. Stay with me because this one requires understanding the mechanism, and once you understand it, you will never look at that evening fruit bowl the same way again. I'm 83 years old. I wake up to a number I recognize now, not a number that makes me want to start the day over before it's begun. I have energy by 9 in the morning. I make my own decisions, I keep my own schedule, and I show up for my life the way I want to. Not because I added something complicated, because I stopped something simple that was working against me every single night. Now let me show you the mechanism, because without the mechanism, this sounds too simple to be real. Your liver runs a glucose release cycle every night. Between 2 and 4 in the morning, cortisol and growth hormone rise, your body's preparation for waking, and they signal the liver to release stored glucose into your bloodstream. This is the dawn phenomenon. It happens in everyone every night. In a younger body with healthy insulin sensitivity, that release is modest and clears quickly. In an older body with insulin resistance, where the cells have become less responsive to insulin over years of elevated blood sugar, that same release accumulates. It sits in the blood through the early morning hours, and you read it at 7 when you press the meter to your finger. This is why your fasting number can be high even after a careful dinner. The number isn't only about what you ate, it's about what the liver does while you sleep, and critically, about the baseline it starts from when it begins that process. Here's the piece that almost nobody explains. The liver doesn't release glucose into a vacuum. It releases it into whatever is already circulating in your blood when the hormonal window opens at 2 in the morning. If your blood sugar is already running elevated when that window opens, if there is still significant glucose in your system from dinner, the overnight release lands on top of an already loaded system. The numbers compound. The morning reading reflects both, the liver release and the residual from the night before. And here is where the fruit comes in. The reason evening fruit is a hidden problem for blood sugar specifically, not for everyone and not in the morning, is timing and composition. Ripe fruit is high in 2 sugars, fructose and glucose. The glucose raises blood sugar directly and quickly. The fructose takes a different path. It goes to the liver first, where it is processed, and one of the outputs of that processing is an increase in hepatic glucose output. The liver, metabolizing the fructose from your evening fruit, produces additional glucose. That glucose enters your bloodstream. It adds to the post-dinner circulation. And if you ate your fruit at 8 or 8:30 at night, that glucose is still circulating or being produced when the overnight hormonal window opens at 2 in the morning. Your body was not doing anything wrong. The fruit was not lying to you. What was wrong was the timing. Eating a high fructose, high glycemic food in the 2 to 3 hours before the overnight window opens. In the morning, mid-afternoon, with breakfast, fruit behaves very differently in the body. The same banana that raises your morning number when eaten at 8 at night may have almost no effect on your fasting number when eaten at noon. The problem was never the fruit. It was the clock. And the reason nobody told you this is not that your doctor doesn't care. It's that connecting evening food timing to the overnight liver release cycle requires a level of metabolic detail that goes well beyond what most standard diabetes management visits have time to cover. You get the prescription, the carbohydrate guidelines, the A1C target. You don't get the 2-hour explanation of what your liver is doing between midnight and 6 and how dinner timing feeds into it. That gap between what the appointment covers and what the mechanism actually requires is where people spend years doing almost everything right and still watching the number refuse to move. Most people managing blood sugar for more than 5 years have this gap somewhere. Something they were told was fine, or were never told to question, that is quietly working against them every night. For many of those people, it is this: the evening fruit, the healthy dessert, the thing that felt like the right choice. You do everything right. You eat clean, you take your pills, and the next morning that number is still too high. I know that frustration. I lived it for years. They never tell you about the morning rise, your sugar climbing while you sleep, no matter what you did the day before. You wake up, you test, and it feels like the work didn't count, like you're stuck depending on more and getting nowhere. I was done feeling powerless. I didn't want to throw out my doctor's plan. I wanted something natural and simple I could add to it, something that finally moved that morning number. I'll walk you through what changed it for me. And the natural support I add every day is in the free presentation linked below. So what do you replace it with? Because removing something without understanding what to put in its place just leaves you with a gap and no direction. The replacement is a small serving of full-fat cottage cheese or plain Greek yogurt, eaten at the same time you would have had the fruit, within an hour of sleep. Here's why this works as a swap and not just a subtraction. Cottage cheese and full-fat Greek yogurt are both high in casein protein, a slow-release protein that digests gradually over 4 to 6 hours. Research has documented that casein consumed before sleep releases amino acids steadily through the overnight window. What that does for blood sugar is keep your body in a gently fed state through the hours when the liver is running its release cycle. One of the signals that drives more aggressive hepatic glucose production is a drop in available fuel, the body reading the overnight fast as a reason to compensate. The slow protein release from casein reduces that urgency. The liver still runs its cycle, but the signal telling it to run hard is quieter. The glycemic impact of cottage cheese and plain Greek yogurt is low. Eating them at night does not raise your blood sugar the way fruit does. You are not adding to the overnight baseline, you are stabilizing it. And you are removing the fructose load that was contributing to additional hepatic glucose output in the hours before the window opened. The swap is not a deprivation. 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese with a small amount of cinnamon if you want flavor, or plain Greek yogurt, full-fat, no sweetener. That is the evening. That replaces the fruit bowl. Now here is where the swap becomes part of a system. The cottage cheese addresses what happens at the dinner table and in the hours before sleep. But 2 other variables shape what the liver does at 3 in the morning, and both respond to their own piece of the system. The second piece is 10 minutes of movement after dinner. Research describes a glucose clearance mechanism in your muscles that activates with movement and operates independently of insulin. It pulls glucose directly out of your bloodstream into your muscle tissue through motion alone, no insulin sensitivity required. 10 minutes of walking after your evening meal accelerates the clearance of post-dinner glucose, which means you arrive at the overnight window from a lower, cleaner baseline. Less circulating glucose when the liver release begins means less accumulation by morning. The third piece is protein first at breakfast. Studies indicate that eating protein as the first thing your stomach processes in the morning, 2 eggs, cottage cheese, plain Greek yogurt, triggers a hormone your body produces naturally. That hormone slows how fast glucose from the rest of your breakfast enters your blood, and it quiets the signal telling the liver to keep releasing stored glucose into a morning that's already carrying what the night left behind. The most expensive diabetes medications on the market were engineered to replicate this hormone. Your body produces it for free every morning you eat protein before carbohydrate. 3 pieces. Replace the evening fruit with cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. 10 minutes of movement after dinner. Protein first at breakfast. Each one reaching the morning number through a different biological door, each one building on what the others set up. At 83, I sit on my porch in the evening now. I have my cottage cheese. I watch the light change. There is no calculation happening in the back of my mind about what the number will be in 6 hours. That quiet, the absence of that low-level worry that used to run underneath everything, is something I did not expect to get back. I thought it was just part of managing this condition. It doesn't have to be. Let me tell you about Doris, 71 years old, retired teacher from Mississippi, 13 years with type 2. Her numbers had been stuck between 158 and 190 at fasting for nearly 2 years. Diet careful, medication consistent, exercise regular. What nobody had questioned, including Doris herself because it seemed so obviously healthy, was the bowl of grapes and sliced banana she ate every night after dinner. It was the one thing she felt good about, the one corner of her day where she felt like she was doing something right. When she understood the mechanism, when she connected the evening fruit to the overnight baseline to the morning number, she felt something she described to me not as relief, but as anger. Not at her doctor, at the gap. At the years she had spent feeling like she was failing at something she was actually doing almost right, with one piece of the picture missing. She made the swap. Cottage cheese in the evening, 10-minute walk after dinner, protein first in the morning, always with her doctor monitoring the numbers, always in conversation with her medical team. 6 weeks later, her doctor adjusted her chart and asked what had changed. She told him about the fruit. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That makes sense." Doris called her sister that evening. Her sister lived 2 hours away and had been offering for months to come and help. Help with appointments, help with groceries, help with the things that were getting harder. Doris had been saying no, not because she didn't want to see her sister, because she didn't want to be the reason for the trip, didn't want the visit to be about her condition instead of about them. That call was different. She told her sister to come, not because she needed help, but because she wanted company. That's a different kind of call to make. And it starts with a morning number that doesn't make you feel like you're losing. If you've spent years doing almost everything right and still watching that number sit where it sits, hear this. You were not failing. You were missing one piece of the picture in the one window of the day nobody took the time to explain. The mechanism is real. The body still responds to the right inputs at 70, at 75, at 80. The morning number is not fixed. It reflects conditions, and conditions can change. There is still time, not as a comfort, as a fact about how the body works. If you watched this whole thing, you're not the type who gives up. You're the type who keeps looking for a real answer. So let me be straight with you. The morning number isn't your fault, and it isn't just diabetes. It's the dawn rise, and it responds to the right daily habits. The goal was never to quit your treatment. It was to support it naturally so you finally see that number move and feel in control again. Alongside the steps I showed you, I take a simple, natural support every day to help keep my blood sugar in a healthy range. Affordable, easy, and it works with my doctor's plan, not against it. The free presentation is in the description below. Go see it for yourself. And keep your doctor in the loop. This is support, not a replacement. Here is where to start. Tonight, put the fruit away. Replace it with 1 cup of full-fat cottage cheese or plain Greek yogurt, no sweetener, no fruit mixed in. After dinner, set a 10-minute timer and walk. Tomorrow morning, eat your protein before anything else. 2 eggs, Greek yogurt, anything with at least 20 grams before your first carbohydrate. That is the system. 1 subtraction, 2 additions. Starting tonight. Everything I've shared today is based on real research and on paying close attention to my own body for decades. It is not personal medical advice. Your medications, your health history, and your specific situation are different from mine, and any change to your evening routine should be discussed with your doctor first. That is not a disclaimer. That is where this starts. If this channel has been useful to you, subscribe, and drop your fasting number in the comments, just the number.